Like a weird lighting on me.
You hit that you said that as soon as I hit the record button. So
Oh,
what a great way to intro. Hello and welcome again to another episode of Bitcoin News Show. We're here again every other Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific to talk about Bitcoin. We're here on Blab.am, and we also upload the show to the World Crypto Network on their YouTube channel.
So Vortex, you're frozen.
Oh, that's fun.
All right, now you're lagging. Now you're lagging pretty bad.
It could, somebody else could report if I'm lagging, but I can see you and hear you just fine.
You get comments in the chat here saying stuff. Good launch though. I mean, so far we're 100 to 100 here.
Yeah, I could just pause the recording, but
we were built for talk radio, man. Talk radio.
Exactly, we were built for talk radio. Should I hit should I hit the refresh button, or I wonder how I make you the leader or something?
Make me the leader. Yeah, that's a really good.
What do you call it? Not make you the leader, but make you the owner of the Blab.
Any crazy people there in the chat you want to get on this?
No, he said
leader.
He just said host BTC Art and refresh. So how do I have him host?
Well, I need you. First, I need you to go in your Bitcoin wallet, and I need you to send me those funds.
Oh God.
Give them to me. Oh wait, you're back. Look at you.
Oh, I'm back.
Yeah.
Okay. Guess what I just did? All I did is I clicked on this this button, this link on your window, Dustin. I clicked your link and clicked it twice, and then apparently everything is back. So that's great. Okay. So what a great intro to our show. Technical issues happen, and so that's part of the fun of being live. If you were here live, you guys, you could experience this live. But now you see anybody watching this later on, it's just going to look weird and terrible. So, but here we go. So
see, the thing is, when you see shows that don't have mistakes in them, you see like highly edited, produced shows. Yep. They are also fake. Because the production takes out the real human quality of the serendipitous.
Very true. Very true. It takes all sorts of stuff, but yeah, very true. So yeah, we do it raw here, on the Bitcoin News Show. We don't. Yeah. So let's just move on to the first story here. So before we do that, we brought up something before we started recording, and I kind of wanted to discuss this on air. Shiley just made me laugh. So it's hashtag Vortex Raw. Yes. Okay. So here we go. So basically, just today, some news broke about the FBI Apple case, and so we wanted to discuss that real quick. And I believe it was just today. Might have been yesterday, but I'm pretty sure it was just today. And what it was is that the FBI announced publicly that they are going to drop the case, and that they have broken into the phone that they needed to break into, which of course was the phone of that guy who did the shooting. So San Bernardino shooting, I think. So with that news that broke today, I wanted to discuss about that a little bit, and we'll Dustin, I'll let you go to in a second. But what I want to say about it first, real quick, is that remember, for months, the media reported that the Apple phone, or that the FBI needed Apple to break into the phone. They reported for months that it was impossible to break into this phone. It was literally an impossibility. This is what they argued. This is what they testified to. This is what they brought their case about, is that it was impossible. And then all of a sudden, of course, they don't need it anymore. Well, hold on, Dustin. Now wait your turn, son. And so basically, they said that they don't need it. Now, in my opinion, here's what I think went down. Basically, they tried to very much set a precedence. They tried to set a precedence. They could have already broken into the phone several different ways. I mean, they have near unlimited funding, plenty of intelligent engineers. They could have very much broken into the phone without Apple's help. However, that's not what they wanted. What they wanted was to set a precedent for a couple things. They wanted the ability to have the government allow them to completely legally be able to have a backdoor into every major phone, into every iPhone. And this right here, this is the precedence they tried to set. And there is no way, everybody blew up. The internet blew up, the news blew up, and in fact, certain sites like Facebook and WhatsApp and others actually responded by increasing their encryption. And so what happened was, today they couldn't. I believe they couldn't get their precedent. All of the judges, the judge that was appointed, and the media, they were all basically going against the FBI in this. They were all siding with Apple, and they saw the writing on the wall. They withdrew the case. They couldn't set their precedent, and so now they announced today that magically they were able to drop in and hack the iPhone that they said was an absolute impossible possibility for several months. So, Dustin, let me hear what you think on this recent news that came about today.
I just wanted to toss in, and you're right, it wasn't important enough to interrupt you. That it was total media coverage. All my feeds did nothing but talk about this.
Yeah.
And there was a huge backlash against them, and it raised the debate to like a whole new crazy level. And if there was any way you could have gotten into it and you just weren't sure how to get into it, I really feel that this would be the wrong way to go about that. Right? Like,
Yep.
I'm just really confused about like how were their decisions made up at the like higher level, like, because you couldn't just like casually go up against Apple, right?
Yep. No. This was obviously very, very, very planned.
You had to have lawyers and technical specialists and everybody saying this is the only way to do it. And if it's obviously not the only way to do it, you have really bad staff or something. Like, I don't know. It's so confusing. Their position, they're not communicating well at all, are they?
No, not. They will not actually. They have not publicly discussed how they've done it, and I don't think that they're gonna either. They're not going to tell us, because if they tell us, we're going to find out that we're going to find out that they already could have done that. Whatever, I guarantee you, whatever situation they did break the phone with, they could have done that prior to making this whole public case without Apple's help. So that's why I believe that they won't release it, but we're going to find out, of course, in the coming days if that happens. But yes, they're being very tight-lipped, of course, as the FBI tends to do. So, okay. So that's what I wanted to discuss real quick. We'll actually move on to our first story. Let's see. Yeah. Eric Grill in the chat says they will just find a small player to make the precedent with less public scrutiny and less money to fight. Yeah, they could definitely try, because obviously this one failed. They can definitely try, but here's my opinion. I think that eventually this is going to move us forward, springboard us, if you will, to a new age of crypto. I think that and encryption. I think that if there's enough encryption and it's easy enough to use, baked into all of our software, and it proliferates enough, I think that that just puts the FBI in a completely impossible position, to be able to try to search and sift through everybody's data by default.
But that was what the discussion was yesterday. Today, the discussion is the fact that not only was the FBI somehow unable to figure this out on their own beforehand, but also that there is a way to do it that Apple didn't figure out on its own.
Well, I believe that how they did it is, how the memory, and this is what's floating around, is how if you put in the wrong password too many times, it will rip the phone.
Right. That's how it works. Yeah.
Right. That count is stored in the memory instead of it's stored in software in memory instead of hardware. So I believe
that not encrypted. Is it really easy to identify that?
I believe that they went into the memory and that's how they did it. They
shouldn't be easy to do.
Oh, it's not easy, but I believe that's what they did, and I believe in the next version of the iPhone, I believe they're going to store their count in hardware, making it literally impossible to do this particular type of.
But if it was possible to do before, why weren't they doing this already?
Well, again, I believe it was to set this precedent. I believe it was to set this precedent. They wanted a back door. They wanted to not
Apple?
have to do. Yeah, no, FBI.
No, I know, but I'm saying, why didn't Apple have already fixed this before it could have been an issue? See, that's what I'm saying. It seems to be now whether the government just showed that it's horribly incompetent and Apple showed that they're horribly incompetent, like on the high levels, because there was a vulnerability, and these other guys didn't even find the vulnerability on their own. So they seem to be both at fault here, to me.
It's definitely a lot of fishiness because, again, it was just the way that this case closed, the way that the FBI just completely dropped it all of a sudden, instantly, and despite hyping it up for months, it was definitely strange. Lots of fishiness. So definitely, guys, check out the news and do your research on that. But there's lots of foul play, I believe. So let's see. Eric says Apple has already made it impossible for them to break.
Right. But that's what we're talking about. That if it is possible for them to do that through brute force, why don't they make that not possible? And if that's really difficult, then that's all they should be doing.
Right.
And they should have already all been doing that with all of their money, which is the most money in the world, by the way, because they're the richest company in the world. Well,
again, they bypassed the encryption with this memory hack.
But that should not be possible. Period.
Well, yes, we should. We also would like to live in a world of rainbows and happiness, but that's not.
But it's Apple. We're not talking about like a minor company.
Apple,
we're not talking about the little player. We're talking about the world's biggest player.
Dude, Apple is not perfect, okay? They have only so many engineers. They can only test so many things. Now, granted, it's far more secure than like Android phones because they have more phones to test, right? So that's why Apple's phone has been proven to be more secure. But still, even Apple isn't perfect, right? Engineers aren't perfect. They can only get so many things right. And I believe that this was one that was kind of that slipped through the cracks. But we'll see. Hopefully FBI will release some more information about this so we can have another discussion about it. But we'll see. All right, so let's see. So let's move on to the first case, the first link here. So I have that in the actual Blab here, Dustin. They've been making some changes here on Blab so that we can actually put links. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a link in there, and I don't know if this will actually be in the video when we export it or not. To World Crypto Network, but it'd be interesting to see. That would be cool if it actually.
Oh, it worked. Look at that. Okay.
Yeah, so that'd be kind of cool. So, so the first link here is Fred Wilson, Reid Hoffman, backed the MIT's $900,000 Bitcoin developer fund. And I'll let you go first on this, Dustin. What do you think about this? Is this a good idea? Is this
I had to go look up how much developers make and look at the stats and stuff because I didn't even understand if it was a good thing. I just want to mindlessly say everything is like good for Bitcoin or say Bitcoin is dead, like everything. But so like a good developer makes 90, 100 a year.
Correct.
And the better one's like 140, and we need the best.
And of course,
that's not a lot of money. I mean, it's good. It's really good start, but it's not like enough in perpetuity unless it's like amazing.
The goal was, I believe, to just fund these three main developers right now. These three developers,
which is plenty for them.
Yeah.
Right.
And then to add on later.
Yeah, this isn't enough for like a 10-year development thing. This is like short-term funding.
And and again, imagine if they actually did like say, okay, here's like a set aside amount of money for like $10 million worth. It would attract, I think, all the wrong type of talent and the wrong type of people. So. But we'll see. So basically, they got together. Fred Wilson, Reid Hoffman. They got together with this fund, and I believe that this is going to be a good idea. I believe this is a move in the right direction. Specifically, I like what the actual what Ford says at the end there. He says it's important for academia to provide a platform to think about academic ideas, and this is what I think is very important. We need to not fund Bitcoin development, at least not all of it, in corporate money, in VC money. Okay, I think we need to actually set aside a part of it, or at least have one of the forks, one of the competing distros, be funded purely by academia, and because I think this is Bitcoin. It has the potential to be bigger and to give us more even value than the internet itself. And so with that, we have to continue to study this thing. We need the best and the brightest, and we need the ability to be able to actually get grants for this and fund development and research into Bitcoin in more ways than just the ways that we've been doing with VC venture capital. And with that ends up kind of creating different incentives and different incentive structures. And so the academia route can provide a route for people who want to purely invest in making Bitcoin better for the sake of making Bitcoin better, not necessarily to increase the pockets of shareholders on Wall Street. So this is very cool, I think. Anything else to add, Dustin, to this article?
Yeah, on Medium, the MIT Media Lab has a little thing, a Medium post about this. And one of the quotes is that several of our donors asked to donate in Bitcoin. And we are proud to say that MIT, for the first time, created a wallet to accept Bitcoin from donors for this fund.
Very cool. So, now that is even cooler.
MIT has its own Bitcoin wallet for this specific thing.
That's awesome. So a portion of this actual investment was actually in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Instead of the war dollars. Yay!
Where do you think it is?
Where do I think what?
MIT's wallet is.
Where do I think it exists? I think it exists in cyberspace.
No, I meant where are they keeping the keys?
My guess is, MIT, inside of the MIT lab, inside of the head of the MIT, basically the director. I would say that the director is probably the only one access to the private keys, the director of the BCI.
But what if he dies?
Well, I'm sure he's got contingency plans and stuff like that. I mean, these aren't stupid people here. These are MIT, right?
I want to know what MIT's contingency plan is, because that would have to be like a really high level thinking on it, because it would be a precedent for MIT, right?
Right. So Eric says multi-sig. Eric says multi-sig. Right. Yeah, I'm sure that's what it is. I'm sure that's what it is.
How did they implement it? Who is it with? Those sort of things. Like, I'm interested in the public knowing about that.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think the public should know about that. I'm sure they're since it is open source, and since they are academically since this is an academic fund, I think for sure that should be disclosed.
Because I hope they have it all on OKCoin, like on the exchange right now.
Yeah,
on a position. It's all on a position. It is shorting Bitcoin.
It's probably on Cryptsy, but
right. It's on Cryptsy.
So. So definitely check that out. I wish that other people could donate to this fund too. I wish they'd open this up to just regular people. There should be, I wish somebody could create some kind of donation pool for the developers, but of course, how would that get distributed evenly and such? But anyway, at least MIT is making sure that this 900,000 is getting evenly distributed for the developers. So that's cool. Going right to developers. Yeah, it's interesting. Eric says that the Bitcoin Foundation is supposed to do that, and it's like, originally that was one of their plans. That was one of their plans, but they sort of failed on that hardcore, and dropped the ball. Actually, it's coming up on years ago now, like months.
They dropped the ball in a lot of areas, and now they're making, like, I've heard their podcasts and their activities since, and now they want to play as a consultant kind of like interface with the media or governments, except that there's already institutions that showed up like that too. So their role, I mean, that
makes sense. Yeah, for sure.
Which is totally disappointing. Totally disappointing, by the way. It's not acceptable that happened.
All right. Well, it really is. They really did kind of drop the ball. But hey, that was the first attempt. That was early days, and I think that Bitcoin we're on like the second level now, and at this point we have much more stable foundations moving forward. But let's see here. I think that was good enough for that article. We can move on to the next one here. But before we do, if everybody could tweet out and Facebook out, share the link that we're talking here live on Blab, talking about Bitcoin. There's a Facebook link and a Twitter link in the left-hand corner. At least there used to be. I don't see that anymore. Oh, it just says share now. That's better. Just make it share instead of having people having to click one or the other. So that's cool. So definitely share it out. And of course, if you're watching this not live, if you're not watching this live, then we also wish that you go ahead and share it out. Let people know that we're here talking about Bitcoin, and we're trying to get the word out. Let more and more people know about it, cryptocurrency in general. Let's see. I'm going to paste in the second link here. Man, it'd be so cool. I really hope that these links show up in the video when we export them.
I don't think the Twitter button works. Yeah, I know it's not working. The tweeter thing is not working.
Yeah, it might be broken right now. Yeah, not working. Eric says it's not working either. So yeah, you can. So people, if you're going to share it out, just go ahead and copy the link at the top of the URL. That'd be fine. That'd be more than fine.
Or write it down and then hand it to someone on paper.
Okay. Yeah. Now here's the question: how do I remove this link or change this link? I don't know. Let's see.
Where are we at in the news? I lost track.
Moving on to the second link. I'm gonna edit in here. Heads up, drop-ins won't show in recordings or audios. See, it won't. They won't show. The links won't show up in the video on the export. But oh well.
Wow.
But look what they said. It says we're working on it. So I'm sure that they're gonna have that. I mean, because that would make sense, obviously.
You mean after they fix Twitter button?
Right. Well, after they fix everything that they break. You know, yeah. We love you, Blab, but you know, you guys definitely take the Facebook motto: move fast and break things. That is for sure. So that's how we changed the link.
At least it's still working, unlike the Bitcoin Foundation.
All right. Zing. Okay, cool. So here is the next article we're going to talk about tonight is why Bitcoin's bad reputation is in the eye of the beholder. So this, brings back. There's several points in the article that I want to make, and it's really kind of sometimes difficult when when people like you and I, Dustin, or others who are kind of really deep into Bitcoin and have been for a while. It's sometimes difficult to admit that it does have an image problem. Because we just see all of these amazing things that it can do, and I know personally that I continue just to think about the future and how bright it can be because of Bitcoin, and including Bitcoin, but I really wanted to get to just we have to continue to hammer this home about why Bitcoin is good and why it's not just for terrorist financing, money laundering, drug, illegal substances kind of use kind of stuff. So.
I think the image problem is a red herring. I think it's a Trojan horse. I think it's a fake thing, like the terrorist funding thing. I don't think there is an image problem because there's the people I talk to, and mind you, where I live, they're pretty far out there. I live in Montana. There's a lot of cowboys here. They wouldn't accept it if it hadn't been used for drugs and bad things. That's what they expect, because it'd be like some weird kind of money if you couldn't use it for drugs and bad things. So the whole fact that people claim there is an image problem, I think that's a manufactured, in the eye of the beholder. Like the title pretty much says it all. Yeah. Like you should just say why Bitcoin's reputation is in the eye of the beholder, not bad reputation, because... Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying. That's my point.
So basically, though, I think that there's definitely a reason why why it's bad right now. Because you got to remember, it's the same reason why the internet was bad in the early days, or why people thought it was bad, because poor media reporting, right? These clueless reporters are continuing to report on whatever is negative, because negative stuff sells much more than positive stuff. So they report only on the negative stuff, and they blow it up completely, usually completely out of proportion, usually completely full of lies. And so what people are thinking is that, okay, oh, wait, MT Gox, didn't Bitcoin die? According to the media, Bitcoin died over 100 times. So yeah, there's a lot of people who potentially could be getting into Bitcoin, but are deterred and turned off because of the media. So we basically have to continue, in my opinion, to hammer this home, and why it's not to be just used for these types of things. So I just want to go over a couple of things. Basically, people think that it's sketchy, that it's used for terrorists, and so basically you have to understand that terrorists use anything.
No, I don't think they think that. They don't think anything because they don't know about it at all. Like this is all just whooshing past them to me.
I guess it depends on the.
I was reading the chat, and they were just discussing this in the chat, and that's sorry.
Yeah, because Shiley, she brought up as well that her people think that the people that in her circles definitely still think that Bitcoin is sketchy, and there's people in a lot of people's circles that still think Bitcoin is sketchy. And it's usually, of course, circles that are outside of Bitcoin, right? Otherwise, they would understand Bitcoin more. And so we usually have people right on the peripheral, right on the edge of thinking maybe of either investing, thinking of either starting a company, thinking of either, putting assets in, just all sorts of different things, thinking about getting into it somehow. But again, they hear all they hear is stuff from the media, and then that creates stuff that they hear from their friends, and then so on and so forth. So obviously, real like pro, super crazy, awesome, amazing investors like Mark Andreessen and stuff like that, they do their diligence enough to know that Bitcoin is not just used for terrorist financing. But still, I want to get the vast majority of people into this, and because when you learn about Bitcoin, you learn why our current financial system is so terrible. You learn how we're basically debt and tax slaves, and then so it's a snowball effect. And so we want to educate people as much as possible. Now, do you have any comments on that, Dustin?
I just realized, like, because of where I live, like, everyone here has a radically different opinion than probably like the rest of the American population. So they're all, the people I've talked to don't care about that sort of stuff at all. The people I talk to, what they want to know is, how does the government control it? Can the government control it? They don't care about anything else. That's literally the only issue.
And that's cool. That's great.
They don't watch these mainstream shows that everyone's talking about, saying that's where Bitcoin's bad image is from, and that's disseminating down into them, because they don't watch that stuff. It's not even in their radar.
Sure, and that's good. That's a good group of people, and that's definitely a group of people. But there are many groups of people.
Yeah. There's a larger message.
And for sure, and so I definitely we definitely thank those type of people for being who they are, because they're able to much easier see through the bullshit and see through the lies that the media pushes through. So that's great, but we also want to try to reach more people as well. And so basically on the terrorist financing, people have to understand that the terrorists are just regular people too. Like they will use whatever means they have to get their agenda across, right? So if they need to use encryption for a task, they'll use encryption. If they need to use sneakers for a task, they'll put on sneakers, right? If they need to use a car for a task, they'll use a car. So people have to understand and separate the fact that Bitcoin is in fact just a tool. It's not inherently used for terrorists. It's not inherently designed for terrorists. It's not inherently designed for evading the government or anything like that. It is its own system on the side, and it is 100% opt-in, and anybody can join into the system. So it is in this regard, it is much more a tool than anything else. And so people need to understand that it can be used for good or for bad, just like the internet itself. So then, on the money laundering side, basically, this has to do with a lot of AML and KYC, so anti-money laundering laws, and know your customer stuff. And there's a lot of people on that are polarized about this. There's definitely people who think that we cannot continue to collect all of these people's information, put them in centralized silos, and hope that they don't get hacked when they do every time. There's people that are on the side of, we need to know every single person who uses any type of financial instrument, so that if there's anything bad at all, then we can go after them. So there's all these there's these polarized views, and this is what the money laundering is all about. So when you're talking about Bitcoin and money laundering, first discuss why we're talking about money laundering in the first place. First discuss how these laws came to be. Discuss that first before discuss privacy. Discuss people's right to information. Discuss the bit license. Discuss how the fact that it completely drove Bitcoin companies out of New York, and that to date, I believe only one single company on the planet has a bit license. I think that's Coinbase. So, I'm just going through a couple of these on the list, so I want people to understand illegal substances, of course, so a lot of what happened with Bitcoin in the early days to get the word out, what happened was media outlets, they went ahead and reported on the fact that you could use Bitcoin to buy illegal substances over the internet. Now, again, what Dustin said earlier, a lot of people wouldn't even consider this a currency if you couldn't do just that. And I agree with that point as well. I agree with that, in fact, 100%. I believe that if you can't use this a currency for drugs, then you can't use it for anything, including commerce, basic commerce, and stuff like that. So, when you're talking about, can it be used for, purchasing illegal substances? Yes, but so can cash. And Bitcoin, the use for Bitcoin, and its use for illegal substances is very minuscule, very small compared to its standard use, which is mostly at this point for speculation, remittance, and buying stuff over the internet, making it easier to buy stuff over the internet. And of course, there's people who want to remain more anonymous, so they try to use it anonymously. It is pseudo-anonymous, so it does take some effort in order to kind of use it completely anonymously. And then finally, the ransomware. So Bitcoin is definitely being used in ransomware right now. There's stuff like crypto lockers and other different types of viruses that will basically encrypt your data and not give it back to you until you send them Bitcoin. These types of attacks have been actually pretty successful, and in the news recently, specifically the hospitals, recent hospitals who have paid their ransom and got their information. But of course, this is not Bitcoin's fault, right? This is the fault of the poor security of the hospital. How the heck did they get ransomware on there in the first place? Well, it was poor IT security. And again, this goes back to storing tons and tons of people's private information in centralized silos. This is going to be a part of a revolution, I believe, to decentralize all of our centralized data silos. They are no longer safe where they are. They are no longer safe from hackers. They are no longer safe. This type of centralized silo paradigm is no longer acceptable, and we need to break it away and make way for a new decentralized paradigm that will allow everybody to own their data securely and access it securely and give it access to others securely. And so this is kind of the promise of cryptography and the promise of blockchain and the promise of Bitcoin. And so this is yet another reason why we try to let people know about Bitcoin. So let's see. So on that long rant, I think that's about it. Basically, just want to end this with this particular article with basically, the truth is out there. You can definitely look all this stuff up. You can Google this stuff. You can find out this stuff. And we strongly encourage you to do your own independent thinking, to do your own independent research and research what Bitcoin is and why it is really going to be as amazing for the world, if not more so, than the internet itself. So don't be fooled by all the stupid, media headlines about Bitcoin is only used for drugs and such and so forth. The number one currency used for drugs on this planet, in this entire planet, is the U.S. dollar. So with that note, Dustin, anything to add on that?
Let me think about that. Yeah, I agreed with you, and then I didn't agree with you, and then I did agree with you, and then I didn't agree with you.
So I need to know, man. I need to know what you didn't agree with me. You gotta write this down when you think of it.
You forgot to mention that the people using Bitcoin are also the Chinese people fleeing China and buying up speculative property in London, pushing the price up.
Yeah, I said speculation.
After they launder their money through like some shifty exchange.
Yeah, well, I said speculation was one of the primary use cases right now for Bitcoin. For sure, speculation is what it's mostly a large percentage of what it's being used for right now.
I should have made a list or something.
Yeah, so I'm saying you gotta write it down, dude.
Yeah.
I talk fast.
Yeah, no, you're good. We're good. We're entirely good. I have no more input.
Okay, cool. So definitely, no problem. Definitely, let me know if you disagree with something. If you do, definitely write it down. Because I know I do that. Definitely.
I'm gonna start writing it down and holding up a sign. You'll get like an 8.6.
Well, especially. Well, dude, when I have like 3 guests on here, for sure, and everybody's talking and stuff, I definitely for sure write down stuff, or else I'll forget it. So I definitely want to bring as much conversation here as we can. Now, before we move on to the next article, I'd like everybody to go ahead again and tweet out, share the article, if you can, share out that we're talking Bitcoin here on Blab. Share a link, will be great. You can share, or you could you could also mention us too, in Twitter or in Facebook. Let people know that we're talking Bitcoin here. All right, let's see, we've got 2 more articles left, and we've been going not too bad, 40 minutes. It's not too bad. I think we're gonna come right on time, around an hour or so. So let's move
You
on.
realize if we tried to do like all the Bitcoin news, it would be like 24 hours or something.
Of course, it would never stop.
Yeah, I actually probably wouldn't. Yeah, no.
It would never stop, man. It's endless. It is the Borg. Okay, so here is the third link. Pasted into the chat and into Blab's.
Oh yeah.
And I pasted it into Blab's new fancy URL displayer.
The John Briggs article, right?
Yes, John Biggs.
Biggs, yeah.
All right, cool. So, he's definitely very opinionated, of course, and such. So, let's see. So, what this article is about is, so this is called 1,000 Bitcoin wallets won't replace one financial revolution. And basically, in this article, he kind of, let's see how I phrase this. He kind of makes a few points known. He wants to, he's kind of making a call to developers, VCs, and everybody to try to move the Bitcoin revolution a little bit faster and a little bit further. He's not convinced that we're moving fast enough, and I don't believe that he's convinced that enough companies are creating enough new technology in the Bitcoin space to be able to create this new financial revolution. So I definitely have a few things to say about this. So he calls out a lot of Bitcoin 1.0 companies for basically just being wallets and things like that. Saying we're in the 2.0 space now. You shouldn't be launching wallets anymore.
Yeah, no. Call out the wallet companies for launching wallets.
Right. And so here's so I got something to say to that. So basically, that's my opinion, completely ridiculous. I think that we can never have enough wallets because wallets, again, is almost like a web browser. It's competition for a user client, a user's interface into Bitcoin. Right. We can never have enough good wallets. We can never have enough good web browsers. We need as many browsers as possible so they can compete with each other, so they can eventually consolidate and eventually compete again, and give the user the best experience. And where we're at now is there is probably at least 40, 50 different companies in the wallet space, and maybe that might be a little oversaturated, but in my opinion, I don't think it is. I think that we definitely need more Bitcoin wallets, and the Bitcoin wallets that are going right now, the market will decide which ones they like and which ones they don't. If the market thinks that we should only have a couple wallets, well, then we'll only have a couple wallets. But right now, the market is deciding that we need a lot of wallets, and that's because it's early days. We're still early into this experiment. You had something to say, Dustin?
John Briggs is the CEO of Stealth. John Briggs is the CEO of Stealth Bitcoin startup Free Mint.
Yes.
Stealth Bitcoin startup. If it was a stealth Bitcoin startup,
I don't even know what that means.
Right. I don't know what that means either. So I now need to find out what that means. But I'm
well, go ahead, Google that then.
And former editor at TechCrunch.
Yes.
Former editor at TechCrunch. They had a little Bitcoin podcast or something.
That's where I know him from. Yeah.
So he's like a professional writer guy.
Yeah, he's an entrepreneur. He's a writer. He's also a developer.
This isn't a very good article.
Yeah, it's not great.
No, I'm reading it if I submitted this to like a class, it wouldn't, like the way it was written.
Sure.
I'm not saying the content. I'm actually just like, wow, I didn't enjoy reading this. This was kind of painful to read.
Well, for me, it was a little bit patronizing, and it was a little bit like
usually patronizing. The picture he chose is patronizing. The words he is using are patronizing. The way he's trying to appeal to like libertarian ideals and make them support his point. Does he realize like we're not all actually libertarians? Like I'm not actually a libertarian. None of this stuff works on me.
So, well, yeah, it's interesting. He definitely words it very opinionated. He basically to quote something, he's like,
super opinionated.
Yeah, he's like bullshit. Period. Yeah. These companies need to put up or shut up. Period. And it's like, look,
he talks like that.
It's like, look, the market is creating amazing.
Brooklyn?
I don't know, but so that's one thing that he says. He's also calling out. He's basically saying that. Let me see one more. I want to point out one more thing here.
I shouldn't say that because he's like a professional editor or something.
No, well, I mean, no, and I've been following for years. I got nothing against him. I've been following for years.
Reading it, negative reaction here.
Yeah.
I don't normally call that out. I'm just saying.
And then another point that he's trying to say is, if big banks want to hire blockchain consultants who will work on routing around the potential damage Bitcoin can cause to their fee structure, until enough of the old guard retire and enough intelligent blockchain users replace them, then that is just fine. The internet of value will be waiting for them. And so, basically, he's I think he's trying to say that there's going to be plenty of people that are always going to be working on the big blockchain startups, and that if we don't act quick, if we don't act fast, then the big blockchain startups are going to steal all the talent and steal all the market share and undermine Bitcoin eventually. And so my problem, with this view is that I really, really don't think that the Wall Street has a chance. I don't think that these financial institutions have a chance with their centralized private blockchains. And I think to even suggest that they do, as he very clearly does in this article, is to show that he doesn't understand how Bitcoin works. And so, John, I know you know Bitcoin. I know you understand Bitcoin.
No, he's had a podcast. He wrote a Bitcoin section for TechCrunch. He's now the CEO of a Stealth, which we don't even know what that means, Bitcoin startup. There's a Bitcoin startup type that we don't know about. Think about that. And he's in it.
Yeah, so, he
has qualifications. Yeah.
So I wanted to basically bring a couple of those points. So that was the second point. Eric says that there's a lot of startups that are in stealth mode before they raise funds. And I guess if you think you got something that nobody else can, have, but even then, it's like, I laugh at people like that because I also laugh at people who want like NDAs and stuff like that for their company, when it's like, look, there's 10,000 projects on GitHub right now that with open source that have amazing stuff that's probably better than the company that you got, and yet you're worried about it. It's like, come on.
When they mean stealth, do they just mean hype?
That's pretty much what all it does, is creates hype.
Right, so stealth just means hype. It's like a classy way of saying hype mode. We're in pre-hype mode or something, right?
Yep.
Man, I wouldn't put that there. But whatever. No, this is terrible. I don't agree with him.
And then he's trying to
say, what you pointed out.
He tries to compare it to Linux and says that Linux won because of two things. I don't agree with that either. But basically, at the end of the day, he's saying that the revolution has begun. He's like saying, if you want a revolution, make one. And he's just kind of encouraging everybody to basically hurry up and speed up, I think. And so the problem with this is, I personally think that Bitcoin is going fast, plenty fast enough. Okay, Bitcoin moves at 5 times the speed of any other type of technology, even close to its class. Okay,
I think it's going too fast. It's just my opinion. Actually, I think it's going too fast. It could slow down.
So and a lot of people, it's hard, for being in the space to be like, oh well, we discussed the blockchain debate for a whole year, and it's like, oh man, we're losing time. And then it's like, look, if it takes a year to discuss this brand new technology that didn't even exist before 2009, to be able to, if it takes this long to be able to discuss how to scale it, then that's fine. Okay, a year is not a whole long time. People are worried about all these other coins, like Ethereum and stuff, taking their place. Oh, they got 5-minute. Oh, they got 3-minute confirmation. Oh, they got 2-minute. Oh, now they're down to 30 seconds. And it's like, look, people, look at the world that you live in right now. You live in a world where it takes forever to do anything, and I'm talking weeks, to transfer money, to get a title, to have the bank do anything for you. So 10 minutes is just not a problem. Now, the people that are shouting this as a problem are mostly wanting Bitcoin to be a currency. These are the people that literally want every single coffee transaction and every single other transaction in Bitcoin globally all around the world. And look, I don't think Bitcoin is designed to do that. I don't think Bitcoin should do that. I think that the world is very diverse and it needs a myriad of different currencies for specialized uses for different things. I think that we definitely need a world currency like Bitcoin so that we can settle everything in all the other currencies that want to have value. And that's great. But I don't believe that we need every single coffee transaction in Bitcoin. I don't think so. I think I'd rather have entire companies with their entire, back office and their entire supply chain on the Bitcoin blockchain, as opposed to every single coffee transaction. Now, in the third world country, you can still use Bitcoin like that right now, and that's fine, but eventually there will be other currencies that are going to step up to take Bitcoin's place in instant transaction, in places where they need instant transactions. And for those types of the transactions, they're going to be low risk anyway. Again, like a cup of coffee. So I think that Bitcoin is moving plenty fast. I think that the blockchain debate, while it did get kind of crazy and some people would argue out of hand, I think that we are here now because of where we were. We're getting closer and closer to settling. We've got the core team producing their roadmap. We've got nodes running, everywhere with people, the market showing their vote, people voting with their nodes, telling us what we want to do. And right now, the market is choosing Blockstream. The market is choosing Core. And, a lot of people are like, oh, well, Blockstream is holding the blockchain hostage. It's holding Bitcoin hostage. It's not allowing the market to choose. And it's like, what are you talking about, dude? There are multiple competitions. There is Bitcoin Unlimited, Bitcoin Classic, and you can vote with your node. You can go ahead and vote. If you don't think that Bitcoin is being driven by the market right now, well, then you don't quite understand how Bitcoin works. It's not being held captive. And you want to go the other route, you can say, well, look, MIT is now funding, different things. Look, now Gavin is under the payroll of MIT. So should we not trust anything Gavin produces? I mean, come on. People need to get paid. People have families, and people need to get paid. Now, if you want a pure open source driven development of a fork or of a distro that doesn't have any corporate funding, well, then go ahead and create that and have it compete with Core and see how well you do. But my opinion is that Core is going to probably outcompete you. So let's see, Dustin, do you have anything else to add on that, on Bitcoin moving too fast?
No, I was just thinking that we should have like a massive disclaimer that we're like an option show or something. Because I was just sitting there like, what if MIT like logs on and only gets like a clip of this and we're just like railing on them and they're like, oh, we're going after you guys.
Oh, no, I think I explained pretty clearly that.
Yeah, no, I'm saying our stuff could be taken out of context so easily.
Oh, anything can be taken out of context. But remember, we did our first entire news story on the MIT thing, and I definitely praised them, gave them praise for doing this for sure, and I definitely gave the director praise for doing this for sure. Though we would like to see more transparency in how they're kind of what software they're using and how they're kind of facilitating this whole process. But still, very cool that it's happening in the first place. So, yep. So I don't think that can be. I think we're good there. Let's do our final story here, which is pretty cool and interesting, I think. Let's see. Before we do that, let's see. Shiley had something I didn't know about speed till I came to your show. Yep.
The killer story there.
Yeah. See, people don't know about. People don't even know about Bitcoin speeds. A lot of people who aren't directly in this, so they look at the block size debate. And they're like, oh my God, Bitcoin, it must be slow because it's only 10 minutes or something like that, or Bitcoin must be slower than this other coin, so or Bitcoin is slower than this other coin, so it must be inferior. So people don't know. So we want to tell them about it and educate them. And definitely, if you guys got any questions about the blockchain debate or the block size debate or anything like that, definitely come and hit us up. We're here every Monday.
If we've got a newbie here, it's important to know that the Bitcoin moves, the keys move. Don't take 10 minutes to move. It takes 10 minutes to confirm. So, correct. I mean, the information actually moves way faster than it takes 10 minutes. It moves at the speed of the internet. It simply has to be confirmed by the entire rest of the network. That's what takes 10 minutes.
And that's the security. That. Yeah, and that's the security of Bitcoin. And I've seen it show up. I've seen the actual transaction show up as little as like 2 seconds, like 2 seconds. But of course, it takes 10 minutes or so to fully get 6 confirmations and such. So that's fine. And people, they need to understand that because they're like, oh well, Bitcoin is super slow, and Bitcoin actually isn't slow, but there are trade-offs for security. And we like that 10-minute confirmation time because that gives the whole network time to secure it. When you want to talk about instant transactions, well, then you're going to give up some security because when you do something instant, that immediately by default gives an attack route, an attack vector for hackers. So there's a reason why Satoshi created 10-minute block times and not have this thing be instant. It wasn't just for fun. It was for a very specific reason.
So there's like 1,000 altcoin developers who disagree with you there, and all spit out like thousands of altcoins, which a bunch of them have died now.
Oh yeah,
because so many people were like, no, I want a 2-minute transaction time, and that's the only thing, and that's what he screwed up on, and everything else he's right about. But 2 minutes, 2 minutes.
ZNS, how did they die? Well, they died because they lost their community. Nobody actually ended up using them. Their program code was abandoned.
Some of them were actually just broken. Some of them were viruses. Some of them are not traded anymore. Some of them became too difficult to mine, like because they had screwy parameters.
Yeah.
Some of them are alive. Fine.
So we don't mean sorry, maybe they get confused. We don't mean physically die, like people physically dying and passing away. We mean projects.
Well, we mean the coins. Yeah, no.
Yeah, we mean projects and their coins actually fizzling out.
Coins going to like zero value. Yeah.
There was some confusion. God, no. There was some confusion there. Yeah, we don't mean nobody's actually getting murdered yet over these coins. Yeah. Not like Wall Street, where all those execs kept getting suicided, right? That's some good stuff over there. But the founder of Bitcoin, did not die. The founder of Bitcoin is Satoshi Nakamoto, and this is part of what kind of makes Bitcoin cool, in my opinion, is that the actual founder is completely residing in mystery. We don't know who it is. That was an anonymous name, pseudonym that it was created under. Satoshi Nakamoto. So we don't know if it's a guy, girl, or a group. And to this day, they still have not come forward publicly, which is probably a good reason, because if they actually came forward publicly at this stage, they would be probably murdered and hunted down very quick. But and now you wait about 50 years or so, then maybe. Well, I guarantee you that they would. Yeah, well, we know what happened, right? With a couple of these different people who were cited as Satoshi. One person, the entire news industry showed up at their house. The other one, they got raided by the FBI within 24 hours of the article. So
yeah, but you jump straight to like the most brutal of them all. I would imagine that something similar to what we saw happen would happen again.
Yeah. So basically, yeah. So the founder is anonymous. And he said she says we're a good balance. Yeah, pretty much. We definitely have our own opinions. We've been pretty much running this show together for a while.
We're only here to argue. Actually, that's the reason we're here.
That's part of the reason we're here. Yeah, definitely got to argue. Let's see. All right, so let's paste in the final article here. If everybody could go ahead and tweet out, Facebook out, share the show, let everybody know here that we're talking Bitcoin, share out the blab, and we will get on to the next article.
This stuff is so confusing to talk about and read about that you need people to discuss it so that you can actually form a conclusion, because a lot of times it's so abstract that it's hard to wrap your mind around.
And for sure, and this is another important note on that same subject to make is that we're not experts, but we are enthusiasts, and I think that there has to be a show with enthusiasts talking too, because we need discussion at every layer. We need discussion at the academic layer. We need discussion at the the enthusiast layer. We need discussion at the end consumer layer. We just need discussion, and I think there's value in every one of those layers for somebody out there. So I definitely think that we bring value, even though we're enthusiasts. We definitely try to speak about and hash out and figure out for ourselves what all this stuff means, and in that we hope that out of that discussion comes some good stuff.
Complete chaos.
Complete chaos.
Madness. Everyone who listens to the show becomes like an anarchist afterwards and just gives up on society.
That's the goal. All right, no. Anarchy, man. Anarchy. That's how it should be run. Anarchy, decentralization for life.
Smart contracts, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's how it will be run. This is the lead in.
This is this is how society will be run in the future over the blockchain is with smart contracts.
Your decisions, your life decisions, your children,
who
you marry, where you go to school, everything will be decided in smart contracts outside of human control, just forcing their computers over you.
But enforced by the owners of the data.
No, you'll be bored into them. They'll write up smart contracts before you're born.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
right?
for like inheritance, for example.
Yeah, but then it'll be used for evil. You see, like dystopian smart contracts where it's like a slavery bond. Have you read about any of that stuff? Like what small contracts could be used for evil stuff? Oh man, you got to look into it. There's some horrible stuff that has been suggested for smart contracts.
Well, again, it's a tool, right? Again, it's a tool, right? So we can use it for some evil stuff, or we can use it for some good stuff. My guess is that it's going to be used for both, right? We're going to have a little of both, but hopefully the good stuff, just like the internet, far outweighs the bad stuff that can be done with it. So
yeah, no, right. But I think smart contracts won't be adopted. I actually have been I've been like lukewarm on them the entire time.
Well, I think that I think it's a nascent technology, and I think that a form of it will definitely be adopted because you need to have that's part of the promise and the beauty of cryptography is these math-based decisions, right? The software making the decision so the human doesn't have to, so there's no counterparty risk. These smart contracts eliminate the need for counterparty risk. That's the beauty of them. So, but let's move on to this article here. This has this will lead right into it. Rootstock raises $1 million to bring smart contracts to Bitcoin. So Rootstock had an interesting history. I remember that they ported, I believe, the Ethereum programming language into Bitcoin in a weekend, I believe. The Rootstock company. So they've definitely been here for a little while, and they've already raised a few eyebrows, and now they're raising money. They're raising $1 million to bring their smart contracts platform to the public. So I think that this is going to be pretty interesting. Dustin, do you have anything to say about this article?
Right. So it is a big deal. It is a big deal. Lots of people are totally excited about smart contracts. They thought that Ethereum. I don't want to say anything bad about Ethereum because I don't understand Ethereum, and I think there's not a lot of people who understand Ethereum. But they thought that you couldn't do what Ethereum does in Bitcoin because the core code is different and doesn't have those capacities. And I'm just confused why you couldn't do this like as Rootstock is doing through sidechains. I don't understand this at all. This is so technical. Whether or not you could decide whether or not Rootstock would be better than Ethereum for some reason, it would be like to be tested and stuff. But it's great that they got the money and that they're doing it because this is the better part of what we saw earlier with like the altcoin phenomenon, where just by let's try everything, let's just throw everything at the wall, something will stick. Something like this could have like a huge benefit if you could, like you said, install smart contracts in different parts of society, make different tiny things, like maybe even KLC checks and stuff more efficient.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
That's it. That's all I got.
Okay, so I think that this is definitely good news and a win for the Bitcoin community because we don't want to have just Ethereum have the monopoly on smart contracts, right? We want Ethereum, we want competition to Bitcoin, but we don't want Ethereum being the only smart contract platform. And so right now they're kind of the leader in the space of smart contracts. And basically what a smart contract is, somebody's is asking in the chat room. It's basically just a contract enforced by cryptography. It's a contract enforced by code. So what that means is that no third party could come in there and be like, you know what, we're going to change this. My lawyer is better than your lawyer. We're going to change this around. There's none of that. It's just
only works. It only works because of Bitcoin.
Yep.
You can't have a smart contract without Bitcoin because the contract only executes money, right? Moves money.
Right. Well, the smart contracts in Ethereum do various things other than just move value.
Right, but if you didn't have Ethereum on it, they wouldn't be able to do anything because they wouldn't be moving value. They'd just be a normal database.
Correct. They wouldn't be able to move Ether, right? So Ether is basically the gas or that powers their system, that powers their smart contracts. And without that, you couldn't have a smart contract.
That's so confusing. if you're a newbie and you're listening to us and you're like, oh, okay, so Ether is the gas for Ethereum, but what does that even mean,
Okay,
man?
so we're not going to get too detailed into Ethereum, but basically, suffice to say, it is a separate blockchain from Bitcoin.
It's an altcoin.
It is an altcoin, and we do think, I think that it definitely could have value in the future. I don't know if it's going to succeed long term, but I definitely think that we need competition to Bitcoin. But here's what I think is interesting too. I wanted to say, though I think we need competition to Bitcoin, I think that people underestimate how much stuff we can actually build on top of and into Bitcoin. For example, again, we just mentioned earlier that Rootstock, basically put in the Ethereum programming language into Bitcoin over in a weekend. And so now, of course, it didn't do every single thing that Ethereum does, but nevertheless,
it was Counterparty.
Yeah, that was Counterparty.
Yeah,
I'd say Rootstock. Counterparty.
Yes, I scored points.
Yes, Counterparty is the team that essentially put Ethereum into Bitcoin, over in a weekend, their programming language. So people, I think, underestimate how much we can do with Bitcoin and how many layers we can build into it. In my personal opinion, I think that we can do anything and everything that Ethereum can do in Bitcoin eventually. And basically, Rootstock, the article that we're talking about here, just raised $1 million to do just that. They think that they can do basically everything that Ethereum does, at least the main part, which is smart contracts in Bitcoin. And I personally tend to agree with them. Now, Ethereum is a different beast, a different animal. It is kind of designed to do something different than Bitcoin. Instead of being a value transfer network, so to speak, it is trying to kind of more be like a world computer. A world processing
one computer.
One world computer.
The same computer, actually.
Yep, the same computer that's just processing the world's smart contracts.
And not like one giant computer, but the same computer again.
Correct. A decentralized opt-in world computer. Now, that's much different goal. That's a much different goal than Bitcoin's goal. So people have to understand.
It sounds cooler than it is because they imagine it's so powerful and they don't realize how bad it is. It's doing anything.
Yeah. So I think that people should definitely take a look at it and stuff like that. But don't underestimate how much we can actually do with Bitcoin. I think that just like HTTP, we're going to surprise a lot of people. People didn't think that you could. People used to think that you wouldn't be able to stream video over the internet. People used to think you wouldn't be able to stream audio over the internet. And guess what? At the time they made those claims, they were correct. The internet was not capable of such things at that time. Bandwidth wasn't there yet. However, evolutions happen, things change, technology gets better. And this will be no different with Bitcoin. So this is really cool. I think that they raised $1 million to bring smart contracts to Bitcoin, and I think that it's awesome. I hope that they do. I hope they make Ethereum. Hope they give Ethereum a run for their money. But excuse me. At the same time, I hope that Ethereum succeeds, with their project, because again, we need all of these. We need them all. We need as much competition to the Federal Reserve, right? To state fiat money, then the better. We need as much competition as possible. So go ahead, Dustin.
Chat wants to know, or chat's talking about if it was asking how you start mining Bitcoin, because that's how she thought you get Bitcoin, and the only way to get Bitcoin.
Sure.
And you might want to read this and do like a general.
So basically,
we're just totally confused about what we're saying.
Yeah, so mining. A lot of people get confused by the whole mining thing with Bitcoin, and basically, you can just think of it as it's how the network gets secure. It's how people secure the network by mining Bitcoin around the world. And some people now think that that's the only way to get Bitcoin. While mining Bitcoin does obviously get you Bitcoin, you can just purchase Bitcoin from an exchange. Bitcoin is available to anybody, to all. Bitcoin doesn't care how old you are. Bitcoin doesn't care what country you're in. Bitcoin doesn't care your wealth status, what color of skin you are, where you live.
Exchanges can, though.
Now, exchanges, they can, for sure. Luckily, we do have a couple of really big ones that kind of cover most of the world, or a large percentage of the first world, which is Coinbase and Circle. Mm-hmm. But beyond those, there are ones for individualized countries, for the Philippines and for a couple different countries. So it's up to you to Google what your individual country, which exchange is best for your individual country. But you can definitely acquire Bitcoin by buying them on an exchange, and you can purchase, as little as $5 worth if you'd like. You don't have to actually purchase a whole coin. Bitcoin is divisible by 8 places. So you can actually purchase $5 if you want, or sometimes less. You can certainly send less than $5 over the network itself. You can send tenths and tenths of pennies. You can send hundreds, sometimes thousands of a penny through the Bitcoin network. Now,
no, but that's not economical because of the fees.
Exactly. And now, of course, that's not going to be economical because of the fees. And in fact, as Bitcoin grows in the future, it's actually going to become more expensive. Yeah, it's going to become more expensive to send stuff. And so that's why we have things like sidechains coming down the line. We also have other solutions like what Coinbase does, which is kind of central. We call this off-chain transactions. They kind of store most of the transaction information in their own centralized systems in order to allow faster transactions, or at least the transactions to appear faster, and the ability to send Bitcoin with just an email address, things like that. So they offer a couple of different benefits, but you can certainly buy Bitcoin. You can actually, remember, Bitcoin is like digital cash. So you can acquire, just like you can acquire cash, somebody can give it to you. You can sell your services or products for Bitcoin.
Eric wants us to, he points out you can buy $1 worth of Bitcoin at their ATM and they'll eat the fee.
Cool.
So ATMs, that's the other place, right? At big cities.
ATMs. Yeah, big cities.
Bitcoin ATMs.
Yeah, Las Vegas, where I live, we definitely have a few ATMs on the Strip in Las Vegas. So those are available to tourists and consumers. It's pretty cool. A lot of people ask us on the show all the time, like, how many Bitcoins do you have specifically? And of course, we would never share, exactly how much wealth we have, or anything like that. But
I constantly
I definitely like to share what percentage of my wealth is in Bitcoin. I have no problem sharing that. But of course, it's obviously unreasonable to ask somebody how much money they actually have in their account. So we're not going to tell you how many Bitcoins we have, and it's ridiculous to ask. But I definitely,
all of them.
I definitely over the years.
That's how many I have. I have all of them.
I have definitely over the years divested slowly but surely most of my wealth into Bitcoin. So I'm 80-90% into Bitcoin, and we don't obviously recommend this. Personally, I recommend everybody to get in minimum 1 to 3% at this point on the game. You should definitely have 1 to 3% of your wealth of your portfolio.
But you're talking about saving money, so you don't need to do that. You can actually just buy Bitcoin on the fly and use it for payments and stuff. I mean, there's debit cards now that process Bitcoin, and so you can buy Bitcoin and just use the debit card and stuff. If you have a problem saving money, you got bills and stuff. I got bills. I got to spend money on bills. I don't, you're like, well, why would I use that and stuff? And it's essentially because at this point it's fascinating, and it's like a different kind of money, and I'm interacting with it, and I'm learning new things. So that has a big ideological reasons, big motivation, right?
There are just so many reasons, but definitely ideological, philosophical reasons. Libertarians are very into this stuff because it's like gold. It can't be printed and it can't be created by government.
I'm not a libertarian. Are you a libertarian, Vortex?
Me personally, I'm a possibilitarian.
What is that? You just made that up.
That means that I believe in the possibility of humanity.
I don't think that's what that's called.
Sure. But anyway, I'm not anything specific at all. No, I don't prescribe to any central thought. I am an independent thinker, and my views change with my beliefs change with my information. So that I receive, I might be into something one day and into something another. But I definitely think that 1 to 3% of your portfolio is a good idea. We personally have more than that because we believe that the technology will succeed in the long term. And I definitely think that we're past the point of no return at this point. If Bitcoin was going to fail, it probably would have failed already. We're kind of past the point of no return at this point, at the threshold. We're not, of course, giving investment advice, but this is what I personally believe. I think that Bitcoin is, at this point, a pretty sure thing, but of course, nothing is for sure. We could definitely get hacked tomorrow, and the network could go down to $1. So
what? No, we can't get hacked. We can't get hacked tomorrow.
Somebody could find a vulnerability, you know, but again, there's still a 0.00001% chance somebody could find a vulnerability.
The odds are not against that. They have such an easier. No one's going to do that because it's impossible, and the amount of effort would be near impossible. That's the whole 51% thing, right?
No. I'm speaking about literally finding a vulnerability in the code to exploit.
Well, I know, but there's been so many tests now where they
oh, that's what I'm saying. At this point, we're like 99.99999% secure. Nevertheless, Nevertheless, there's that 0.0001% chance that somebody could find a vulnerability because we are dealing with code after all. When you deal with software, there's always unexpected outcomes.
I just don't think you could take down all the nodes at the same time, so it'd have to be an update or something. In which case,
for sure.
For it to be compromised.
Yep, and that's the beautiful thing about Bitcoin, right? Is it's kind of this anti-fragile, self-healing system where if there was some kind of vulnerability launched in the code, right, more than likely we would find it quickly. Somebody would announce it on Reddit. The nodes would not update that software, and we would very quickly remove it and patch it and update with another version. So, you know, but that's part of the coolness of Bitcoin. But again, there's always risk. And that's why it's only $400 right now, even though it has the potential to be tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars, right? It's only $400 right now because there is still a lot of risk, and that's kind of built into the price, built into the network. So,
well, as the price that somebody pointed out, the price is a reflection of the capacity for risk or the risk possibility. So as that decimal point of risk goes further down, that increases the price floor.
Yep.
Or there's a relationship at least.
For sure.
Don't listen to anything I say.
So everybody ignore Dustin. And
please do.
Nah, only avoid Dustin at your own peril. Okay, so I think that was pretty much all the links for tonight. So we went about an hour. It's not too bad. A little bit over an hour.
Great, so if you guys comments, by the way, everybody, thanks for all these comments.
Thanks for participating in the chat for sure. We love you guys. Thanks so much. We appreciate it. We love to have people here live so that because that's our most direct way of influence people, helping people understand Bitcoin. But for sure, if you guys see this later, please share it out and send it to your friends and people. And we'd love to have you join in. Love to have more and more people join in live and ask more questions. We're here every Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific. Dustin, where can we find you? On these interwebs.
Oh, you mean on the web? Like I was like, I'm not going to tell you where I live.
I like your address, social security, and date of birth, please.
All right. Well, you seem legit. I'll just write this down for you, sir. I run a Bitcoin art gallery. It's a website, a Twitter account or whatever. It aggregates Bitcoin art and paintings. People do a lot of like oil paintings about Bitcoin. People are always surprised to find that out, but there's a big subculture, and like my website tracks it. So like go to btcartgallery.com or just type in Bitcoin art gallery in Google. It'll bring me up.
Very cool. The intersection between art and Bitcoin. Very cool.
Yeah. Cheers.
Check that out, ladies and gentlemen. You can always find me on Twitter at @TheOneVortex. And of course, you can find me here on Blab on blab.im/TheOneVortex. It gets complicated, I know. So definitely check us out. Again, one more time, we're here every other Monday at 8 p.m. We're not here every Monday anymore. We're here every other Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific. So join in, check us out, and we'd love to have you. Love to have you in the chat and on air. So thanks again, everybody, for joining, and we will see you again in 2 weeks' time. Happy Bitcoining.
Bye-bye.